671. Offices in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12682. Offices in Baton Rouge. Hanny time. Hanny time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Now, here's Charles Sandegriff.
And a pleasant good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Sandegriff, Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp, thank you for being with us today. Ross Dellinger from Sports Illustrated with us here in a little under 15 minutes. There's some pretty big changes coming to the college football calendar that we're going to talk with Ross about. You know, Mario, we were talking pre-show about you said, you know, we were prepping for this. You said, man, the college football calendar is about to not look anything like the one you grew up with. And I said, if you think it's different from the one you grew up with, the one I grew up with was tremendously different than what we're about to see. What do you, when you think about the calendar, the way it lays out now, and what's going to happen in some form is that week 0 is going to be a thing, is going to be a permanent thing, and you're not going to have any restrictions on. You're not going to have to jump through any hoops to play in week 0. They want to move the conference championship games up. They want to move the bowl games up. They want to be able to fit the playoffs into an earlier window and basically stretch this whole thing out another week as far as the regular season goes. When you think about what was the biggest change you were telling me about that you thought coming?
Well, the playoff expansion obviously is a big factor,
and they're trying really. That's the other thing is why this is taking on a sense of urgency, because they realized finally that they can make a lot more money with this, and they should really try to hurry to get the playoff started as soon as they can. Why leave that amount of money on the table to get this thing in place for 2024? But they've got a lot of things to do. They've got to get this schedule down. It does revamp the recruiting calendar a little bit. Every conference is not done realigning yet, but at least we're moving in this direction. When you said it's different from the college football calendar you grew up with, I reminded you that I grew up with a college football calendar that once saw BYU win the national championship in the Holiday Bowl. So we've come a long way, baby.
Great times.
They beat a 6-5 Michigan team to win the national championship. We're doing better than that. So we'll talk with Deli about that. Chris Rosvoglu from Boot Crew Media at the bottom of the hour, and we're actually going to start with the Saints right now. Isn't it convenient that when they're over in London, they're done with practice and all of the media stuff before we come on the air? Oh, so this must be what afternoon drive is like every day. Everything's is coming to an end. Okay, got it. This has been really convenient because Jameis Winston didn't practice again today, and that's been the story of the week over in London. Is Winston yesterday didn't practice. Dennis Allen said, hey, we think he'll practice tomorrow and play Sunday. Winston said, I think I'll practice tomorrow and play on Sunday. He did not practice today, which leads me to think that there's a really good chance that he's not going to play on Sunday. Dennis Allen doesn't meet with the media again until tomorrow. And any questions that were thrown out there today to any of the Saints assistant coaches, I think Pete Carmichael had a media availability today. He said, nope, talk to Dennis about that tomorrow. But we can see now, from what the Saints had to adjust to yesterday and again today, that there's an increasing possibility that he's not going to play. So we found out a little bit more about this injury, a little bit of detail to it. This transverse fracture in his back is something that is very similar to what sidelined Tony Romo late in his career. Now, understand, this is not the injury that ended Romo's career. That was a different back injury. This is something that kept Romo out for one game in the season that he was dealing with it, which was back in 2014. And usually what my understanding of the injury is a little bit of rest will go a long way. Romo missed one game and then, ironically, got on a plane because Dallas had a game in London the very next week after the game he missed against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Romo played really well in that game. He threw 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Bryce Petty was a quarterback for Baylor, had an injury similar to this right about the same time, missed one game and came back. So it does seem like, at least in those 2 cases, there's 2 I could find, that a little bit of rest will do a lot of good. Immediately think, well, after that game in Carolina, might have been a better idea just to send him home. You know, if 1 week's worth of rest was all it took. Now, they don't know that. Every injury is different. Every body is different. But if they knew that, instead of making him get on a plane with a chalky back and go all the way to London, maybe they should have just sent him home. Too late for that now. He's already over there. So it looks like we're going to see there's a pretty good chance we're going to see Andy Dalton. I'm also just blown away at how much support Andy Dalton is getting. Now, I like Andy Dalton as a backup quarterback. I was all in favor of the Saints signing him. I think if you got to, have somebody in there for 4 games, Andy Dalton is completely capable of going 2-2 or maybe even better than that if the schedule lines up for him. But that's where it ends with Andy Dalton for me. The idea that he should replace Winston Sunday, yes. If he's healthy and Winston isn't, and that certainly appears to be the case, then absolutely. Andy Dalton gives you a much better chance to win. But in no way is that an endorsement for me moving forward, with Andy Dalton long term. Andy Dalton was replaced as starter in Cincinnati because he had become ineffective. He spent a year with Dallas and he spent a year with Chicago. His yards per attempt has gone down every year the last 3 years. He started 14 games for Cincinnati in 19. That was the season that led them to acquire the Joe Burrow pick. He started 8 games for Dallas, and he started 9 games for Dallas, and he started 8 games for Chicago. The team's record in those games was 9-19. So we're not talking about his numbers have gone down. His completion percentages have gone down. His interceptions to touchdown ratio has gone in the wrong direction. 38 touchdowns, 31 interceptions over the last 3 years. Basically what you have here is you got Jameis Winston with a weaker arm, okay? Not that that's not the best option for them this Sunday, but that's where you got to stop with Andy Dalton. I think he's a wonderful insurance policy, but they got to try to get Winston back to find out what they got in him. More and more people are saying, hey, listen, this is what you signed up for with Jameis Winston. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to throw into coverages, and now you've got another injury to deal with. I don't think it's going to be long-term. If the Romo injury is an indicator, if the Petty injury is an indicator, a little bit of rest will do this fine. But the Saints offense has got way bigger problems than that. The offensive line is not playing well. Both of your running backs have had major turnovers that cost them dearly in these 2 games. Your kicker's going through a slump. I mean, you've got other problems on this offense, but I'm all for getting Winston back in the lineup as quickly as they can. Because if Winston isn't the long-term solution, they have to figure out what is. And that's troublesome because they don't have a first-round pick next year. Getting way ahead of ourselves. I would just tell you that it looks like Dalton is going to play this week. And from what we now know a little bit more about this injury, it's something that a little bit of rest will clear up. So Saints and the Vikings on Sunday, 8:30 in the morning. We'll take a break. When we come back, Ross Dellinger will be with us. We'll talk a little bit about the college football schedule. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
My experience with Accurate Infinity of Baton Rouge with the certified pre-owned package certified pre-owned option has been fantastic. That's why I've bought my last 3 vehicles from Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge, because when you get the certified program, you're getting up to a 6-year unlimited mileage warranty. You're getting complimentary first-year basic maintenance. You're getting a 3-month trial subscription to Sirius Satellite Radio. You're getting emergency roadside assistance, and my favorite, the complimentary service vehicle. You take your vehicle in for service. You don't have to worry about sitting there and waiting for it. You can get on about your day. You don't have to have somebody come pick you up and go back and drop you off. You're going to get that complimentary vehicle with you. Transparency in the pricing is for a hassle-free sales. They're going to treat you like family over at Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. So do what I did. Purchase your next vehicle from Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I am Juliet, daughter of Marguerite, granddaughter of Gabriel Piera. I come from a line of strong women who knew struggle and success too. Still, I was scared by my breast cancer diagnosis. But I had Blue Cross coverage, which meant I got care from top doctors. I'm strong like my mother, and her mother before her. The right card, the right care.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste and only 96 calories. It's Miller time.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted...
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. Ryan Clark, Mike Triplett, our Fantasy Blitz. We take a closer look at the Auburn Tigers. Join us Thursday, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Welcome back to Handy Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Joining us now, Ross Dellinger from Sports Illustrated. Ross, how you doing, man?
Good, Hanny. How are you?
I'm outstanding. You know, there's some changes coming to the college football calendar. It's just a matter of what and how soon. So the next set of meetings are coming up in a few weeks. Let's start with week 0. This is the first thing on one of the first things on the agenda. There's a push to make week 0 restriction free, and I'm not going to go through all the restrictions. There's a number of them, but there's a push to make it restriction free. We know the argument for. What's the argument against making week 0 restriction free?
Well, I think the arguments against it would be you're lengthening the season, although you would build in an extra bye week for now. I think eventually that bye week might go away when they shift the whole regular season up by a week. That's a whole other animal. I think playing earlier is playing in hotter weather, Charlie. As you know, down there in Baton Rouge, it gets hot. It's hot in August. It's hot in September too, but it's hotter in August, and I think people would say that the heat and adding another lengthening the season, so to speak. And then I think that the third thing would be the issue with fall camp. You would move fall camp a week, earlier, and again that gets deeper into July, and that gets hotter. So I think there's some fears for all those things. Probably not enough fears to keep it from happening. I think that it is eventually going to happen. Not exactly sure when, and then eventually, and the end goal here, I believe, is for the whole regular season to shift up by a week, thus providing flexibility and a bigger window to play all these additional playoff games in the expansion.
And all of this is towards the goal of getting the college football playoff at 12 teams in 2024, as opposed to 2026 or 2025. So how close? I know you've had conversations with a lot of different people, and I know you're having even meetings today. How close is that to being a reality?
There are 3 options on the table for them. It's expand in 2024, expand in 2025, or expand at the latest year, 2026. And I think that I think the worst case scenario will be 2025. I just kind of get that feeling from them. I do think that they are trying pretty hard, and there's a lot of optimism in expanding in 2024. And I do get that feeling from meetings Tuesday and Wednesday in Chicago. I got that good feeling from commissioners. There's more optimism than ever. There's more collaboration going on than there has been. There's a little collegiality back in the room, and they seem to be progressing. They really got into the weeds of things and dates in Chicago, and that is a good sign that they're actually doing that in getting deep into the details. So I think, if I was a betting man, I would bet that we're going to expand in 2024. I wouldn't bet the house. I'd bet the house that we expand in 2025. That's just kind of how I feel right now.
It seems so easy. Just do it in 2024. But there's, everybody's got a stake in this thing, and everybody wants to make sure that their interests are protected. So let's start with the SEC. If the playoff starts in 2024, don't Oklahoma and Texas have to be in the SEC in 2024 if the SEC is going to sign off on this?
No, not at all. I don't. I don't think that's the case. They prefer that. Probably. I would guess that they would. I think the SEC would love for Oklahoma and Texas to come tomorrow if they were able. So no, I don't think that's a definite. But it's a good point you bring up, because a lot of the other realignment has already happened or will happen by 2024. Specifically, UCLA and USC will by that time be in the Big Ten in 2024. So, those teams, those leagues will be more aligned. And same thing with the Big 12. They'll add their 4 members. So the SEC probably would love that. And I thought that was a possibility. I still think that's a possibility for OU and Texas to come in 2024. I think the door is open there. I don't think it's as open as I thought it was. I'll be honest. I've had just conversations lately that have led me to believe that it's just not as wide open in that happening. But we'll see.
The grant of rights issue is what's the major sticking point.
Yeah, I think when the announcement was there was a new commissioner, Brett Yarmark, replacing Bob Bowlesby, that there was some hope that since he had a new commissioner who was not Bob Bowlesby, who had his share of axes to grind and was certainly not going to budge on letting them out early and probably anyway, that there was maybe some, a bigger, better possibility that, because you got a new commissioner, and then number two, because Big 12 is renegotiating their media rights deal. So maybe there's something they can work out with ESPN to get to let Texas and OU out for a smaller penalty because ESPN takes over the SEC package in 2024. So they would want him there. But I don't know if there's enough there to make that happen. Here's the thing. Texas probably would write the check. And the check would be awfully big. It's a penalty fee of like $80 million, no matter what. Now that will probably be talked down, but no matter what, even if they leave Charlie on time when they're supposed to, the penalty is $80 million for each school. That is an just automatic extra fee. But then the grant of rights, as you mentioned, on top of that, right, is estimated to be, the Big 12 TV media rights deal is worth, I think, a total of $260 million a year. Texas and Oklahoma combined for roughly 50% of that value. You can do the math. It's an extra $80 million on top of the $80 million. It's $150 million, which I think Texas would write the check. Oklahoma, not so much.
Let's talk about the one entity that every time the college football calendar changes, every time there's some kind of change to the establishment, they got to go kicking and screaming, and that's the Rose Bowl. How big of a factor is the Rose Bowl in all this?
Well, let me say this as something I haven't brought up here talking about the playoff expansion, is if they expand early in 24 or 25, then they're expanding under the current contract, which comes with a lot of other like bells and whistles and restrictions and stuff. In 2026, eventually they'll agree on a new contract, completely new contract. So the field, the schedule of games, the bowls, all the logistics that we see happen potentially in 2024 and 2025 with a playoff may be a lot different in the 2026 version, and that includes some of the bowl issues, and that includes the Rose Bowl. So the Rose Bowl took it on the chin. There's no doubt about it with USC and UCLA moving. I mean, there's a real concern there about Pac-12 and its future and its sustainability. And I think probably they've somewhat wised up and realized that they need to be not so difficult to deal with. That said, last week, talking to a commissioner for the 2026 season and beyond, again, the new contract, the Rose Bowl's already raised some issues. And, they want to stay at their date and time. That's the big thing. And can they be an automatic quarterfinal? Well, sure, they can. But if the quarterfinals, Hanny, are moved up a week, and all this shifting, all this regular season shifting that we're talking about probably wouldn't happen, until 2026 and beyond. Week 1 becoming week 0, basically all that shifting. And what it does is that shifts the whole playoff where the semis, instead of the second or third week of January, Hanny, are on New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. Well, I can tell you this, because right now in the version of 24-25, the quarterfinals are on New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. But they would shift back potentially a week. And I can tell you this, the Rose Bowl would not be a permanent semifinal. They will not let that happen. So there's going to be some tricky stuff going forward with the Rose Bowl. There's no doubt about it.
The recruiting calendar is going to shift when all of this shifts. Is it going to be I know the coaches have voiced their opinion on this. Is it going to be a major change to the recruiting calendar or a minor change to the recruiting calendar?
Yeah, I don't know if casual fans would really care or would realize that there's that big of a shift. Coaches obviously would. There's going to be some new dead periods now. Got a hold of that proposed 365-day calendar last week. And again, a lot of that might not be implemented for a couple of years or so. But it had some new dead periods built around the transfer portal. It had it simplified things. It simplified some things and built in some dead periods. It allowed junior recruiting off campus, which again, this is a proposal, so it could be shot down. So I don't think there are going to be that many changes as maybe people first thought. A lot of the changes are due to the transfer portal and the windows and all that. And there's some change coming to that potentially next week, by the way. The portal windows, which were introduced in the spring portal windows as May 1st through May 15th, are almost certainly going to shift up to April 15th to May 1. From what I'm told, is going to happen next week.
All right, last thing. The next big meeting that we're watching is on, I think, October the 20th. Where is that? Who's at it, and what might come out of that meeting?
Yeah, that's in Dallas. All the CFP commissioners will get together like they did in Chicago, and they will try to. I think that's the date that many of them believe is kind of a quasi type of deadline to decide whether they're going to expand in 2024 or not. And you got to decide pretty soon here, and I think that meeting is the big one. I do expect a decision to come out of that meeting. Either it's going to be, okay, we can't do 2024, so we're probably going to do 2025, but we're still working on 2025, or we're going to do 2024, so we'll see. But that's the big one.
Ross, we always appreciate your time. Sports Illustrated, he'll be on top of all of the changes in the college football calendar. Ross, we appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
All right, Hanny. Thanks a lot.
And we'll take a break. We'll be back. Chris Rosvoglu from Boot Crew Media. We'll talk Saints when we return. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Speaking of the Saints, at Big Mike's on Sunday morning, they're opening early for Saints and the Vikings. They'll be open at 8 o'clock for the 8:30 kickoff. It's happy hour drink prices all day. Bottomless mimosas, Bloody Mary, champagne, and wear your pajamas. I promise I won't. But if you wear your pajamas, you get a free beer or a free shot. They're going to have breakfast burgers, breakfast waffles, and a full menu, of course, after the game. Get on over to Big Mike's in Denham Springs to watch the Saints and the Vikings. Again, happy hour prices all day. You can build your football weekend around Big Mike's. If you're going out to some of the high school games in and around Denham Springs, they're always open late, family friendly after the game, so you can bring the whole family in to get something to eat, even if it's late. Live music every weekend, DJ during the games for LSU contests, and, of course, the Saints on Sunday. Big Mike's on Aspen in Denham Springs. At Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Auctioner.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644.
Jimmy Ott and Charles Henniger for the Thursday evening edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're downtown at Jolly Pearl Oyster Bar on North facing Town Square. Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. presented by Bet Rivers on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hanniger on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Chris Rosvoglu from Boot Crew Media joins us talking New Orleans Saints take on the Vikings on Sunday morning in London. Chris, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
All right, so after the news this morning that once again Jameis Winston didn't practice, how convinced are you that Andy Dalton is going to start the game on Sunday?
You know, I'd say, going into yesterday, I was 50-50 on this. Now I'm kind of leaning in a 75-25 split, maybe 80-20 split in favor of Andy Dalton. I just think at this point, if Jameis Winston's not taking reps during the practice week and not going through the game planning on the field with the team, and Andy Dalton is, and the rest of the locker room speaking highly about Andy Dalton, what he can do if he's in that spot, I just feel like right now the lean would be with Dalton starting on Sunday.
So what does the Saints offense look like? Any differences at all? We saw Dalton in the preseason. He looked sharp, but that was in the preseason. So what do you expect to see from him?
Yeah, I think, assuming that a guy like Jarvis Landry's on the field out there with Chris Olave, with Alvin Kamara, I think with Andy Dalton, what you'll see more of is kind of staying on rhythm, staying on schedule, a lot of quick passes. We're not going to get those flashy plays all the time that you might see with Jameis Winston, but I think, that might benefit the Saints offense right now. The one thing they're really struggling at is first and second down, not picking up a lot of yards. I don't think you're going to worry about that much with Andy Dalton because he'll look for the check down. He'll look for the tight ends over the middle. So I could see more targets towards Alvin Kamara, especially in the flat. I think this could result in a increase in targets for Adam Troutman. That's someone who, I know Saints fans get frustrated with the lack of development in their minds, but you go to week 3 and you watch the tape, and there's a moment where Adam Troutman's wide open over the middle of the field for an easy 20-plus yard game, and Jameis Winston just doesn't see him. And something that I noticed through the preseason and training camp with Dalton was he actually liked to go to Troutman, especially during joint practice against the Packers. So I think maybe a little bit more Troutman. You'll definitely see a lot of Kamara, and hopefully just see an offense that's moving the chains at a more consistent rate.
There's been a long list of things that have ailed the Saints offense besides the quarterback. What are the most glaring in your opinion?
Yeah, I think, one of the big issues for me has been special teams. I know a lot of the talk comes down to the offense with Jameis Winston and what he hasn't been able to do, but Will Lutz has 3 missed field goals for 3 weeks, and that's not what you kind of expected when he comes back into the fold, and you thought that the return of Will Lutz would fix all the kicking game woes they had last year, and I thought that would be the case. And after he made the 51-yarder in week 1 against Atlanta, I was like, okay, great, Will Lutz is back. We could kind of sharpie in the fact that they have a reliable kicker, but the last 2 weeks haven't been that encouraging, especially the game against Carolina. So that would be a concern. And Another concern on offense would be the fumbling. That's 3 straight weeks where a running back on the Saints has cost up the football. Ingram in week 1 and 2, Kamara in week 3. And the Saints lead the league right now in turnovers with 9, with 5 picks and 4 fumbles. That's been a huge issue for this team.
Michael Thomas also did not practice today. What's your best guess? What are you hearing as to whether or not he's going to play and what impact that makes on this offense? Because last week, at one point late in the game, they were down to 2 healthy receivers.
Yeah, I think right now it obviously isn't encouraging, the fact that he has missed the last 2 practices, but he did make the trip to London, and everyone's kind of told us right now that this isn't a major injury. And I think even if we do go down the unfortunate event where he does miss Sunday's game, I would not be surprised if we saw him next Sunday against Seattle back in the fold. So I think right now it's kind of a maintenance thing for the Saints. Is it to the point where they want to risk him this week and maybe it gets worse? But I think we're going to have to kind of wait and see how Friday's practice unfolds. And, I mean, he's there. He feels fairly good. I think if this was a playoff situation right now, there'd be no doubt in my mind that Michael Thomas would be playing. This isn't an injury that's supposed to linger for weeks. It should only be a short-term thing. But I think we'll have to wait and see. But the fact that Jarvis Landry has improved and he seems to be a guy that will play this Sunday, I think that takes a little bit of the pressure off on how much you have to rush Michael Thomas, or if you have to rush Michael Thomas. But make no mistake, if he's not out there, that definitely changes your third down situation, that changes your short passing game. But I do think the emergence of Chris Olave and Traquan Smith and Jarvis Landry improving in practice, maybe that eases the loss of Michael Thomas if he doesn't play this weekend.
ESPN did a piece today on 4 struggling offenses in the league: Broncos, Cardinals, Colts, and the Saints. And they rated their what they call their panic level. And they said the Saints are a blaring alarm. The out of the 4, the most panic level, the highest panic level of the 4. Do you feel that way?
I absolutely do feel that way. And the reason so is the rough starts, right? 10 first-half points through 3 games. It's tough to win football games when you do that, and you're always behind. And I think when you look at the Saints offense, they've really played 1 really great quarter out of 12 of them. That's not encouraging. And usually when they move the football, teams are getting into prevent defense. It's a lot of up-tempo stuff. And I know people would argue that, hey, if Pete Carmichael goes up-tempo a little bit more often, maybe that'll figure out the problems. But I don't know if it's that simple. I think this is a team that's just not executing plays right now, whether it's the O-line not holding up, whether it's Jameis Winston missing reads, whether it's inaccurate throws, whether it's turnovers. So I do think that that's a fair assessment of this Saints team, because it's an issue that plagued them in week 1, and they were lucky enough to get out of it with a win. Then it plagued them in week 2 when the defense was holding down the fort. They just had 3 points through the first 3 quarters. And then we saw against Carolina, they didn't score until the second half. And even at that point, they scored in the second half, and it was a little bit too late. So I think that there are concerns right now for this team, and you hope that maybe, whether it's a quarterback change, maybe it's a trip to London and getting away from all the noise, that it figures something out. But if they have another struggling week like they had the last 3, I think that you're absolutely kind of spamming that panic button.
What have you thought of the offensive play calling by Pete Carmichael?
I think it's tough to say that I'm fully out on what he's been able to do, because I think there's moments where Pete Carmichael is actually scheming up fantastic plays and guys are open, and either Jameis Winston makes the wrong read or it's been an inaccurate pass. There's one play in particular where people bring up Kamara being open on a check down on 3rd and 3 in the red zone and Winston missing him, and that's fine. There's no problem with complaining about that and saying Winston should hit the check down, but he actually makes the right read in terms of going for the big play, going for the touchdown to Jarvis Landry, and he just misses that throw. And there's other scenarios where I don't think it's all on the play calling. That being said, my biggest issue right now with Pete Carmichael has been there's too many runs on 2nd and 10. I believe there were 7 situations during the Panthers game where it was 2nd and 10 and they ran the football. And when you do that and you don't get much out of it, you turn it into a 3rd and 7. It's a predictable passing down, and that puts your offense in a tough spot. So I think the main issue I've kind of had with Pete Carmichael so far has been the predictability of the play calling. It's kind of gotten into this funk where it's 1st and 10 incomplete, 2nd and 10 run play, 3rd and down obvious passing. And I think for the Saints, that's something that they have to mix up. And whether that is a quarterback change, whether that is getting Taysom Hill a little bit more usage in that Swiss Army knife role, they got to do something to kind of switch that up, because I think defenses are starting to pick up on that.
So let's talk about Taysom Hill, because he took reps as the backup quarterback. If Winston doesn't go on Sunday, do you expect Hill's role to be reduced as the jack of all trades player because they have to worry in case he has to go in again to play quarterback? Or do you just put him in there and say, listen, if he gets hurt, he gets hurt, but we're going to die with our boots on?
Yeah, look, if I were calling the plays here, I would probably try to go with the latter option and kind of put out your best players on the field and get the best product there. But I think for Taysom, if you're trying to be cautious while also using him, I think it makes the most sense to take away those reps as a tight end. And if you're going to use Taysom Hill against the Vikings, a lot of QB power. And I know it's a different regime there in Minnesota now. The days of having Mike Zimmer are gone. But we saw even in the playoffs a couple of years ago just how dangerous Taysom could be just exclusively running the football. So I don't know if the Saints should go away from that just because he may have to be the backup quarterback. I think that those runs from Taysom Hill kind of rejuvenate the offense at times. And when they're not getting things going, he's that spark plug to get them on the right track. So I would expect less, touches and snaps at the tight end spot and getting him out there in space as a receiver, because we have seen before, like the Washington game last year, he could be susceptible to a huge hit. So you want to take that out if he's your backup. But I think there's no reason to believe that the Saints won't use him as a runner at all. I think they're going to have to in this game, and those 3rd and 2s, those goal line situations. The Taysom Hill QB power play still runs pretty well.
Just so I'm not all gloom and doom here today, let me bring up something positive. Chris Olave, they moved up in the first round to get him to be an impact receiver. Through 3 games, the results are very encouraging. When you look at Chris Olave, what kind of ceiling do you see?
Oh, I think Chris Olave has been absolutely fantastic. And this is a player coming into this year that I said, if he can do what Devontae Smith did for the Eagles last year, that'd be a good rookie season. At this point, I expect him to exceed that. And he really does have those moments where everything just looks so easy to him. And he's the type of player, when you watch him at Ohio State, we talk about the big plays and what he's able to do down the field. But what I've seen through the last 2 weeks, there are the catches in traffic, those tough ones that you're going to take a huge hit, or you have to make a play over a defender, and he's been able to do that. And I won't go as far as comparing him to Marvin Harrison, which is someone that the Saints said he reminded them of, and obviously that's high praise for a player of that caliber. But I think that Chris Olave right now is on track to end up being a Pro Bowler as a rookie, and he's looked fantastic. And I know Saints fans obviously adore Justin Jefferson, who will be on the other side of this game on Sunday, and what he was able to do at LSU and what he accomplished so early in his career. I think Chris Olave can have a similar track where early on, in a 1,000-yard rookie season, and go from there. He's just so polished. He runs the complete route tree, and clearly he's ready to take that next step. We talked about Michael Thomas earlier, and if he misses this game, that will hurt them. The emergence of Chris Olave kind of eases those blows, right? Like Chris Olave alone makes this Saints receiving core better this year, even if Michael Thomas were to sit, than last year's unit. That's how dynamic he's been. So I've been thoroughly impressed with him. I'm not totally surprised that he's been that great. The Saints traded up for him. They wanted him on the team, and he's validated it. But at this point, I have to adjust kind of my player comparison for him, because he's looking to be even better than Devontae Smith, who I thought was an excellent receiver at the college level and even the NFL level.
They didn't even need to use their mole. And whoever the Saints mole is in the Ohio State football office, they didn't even have to use that person because everybody could see Olave was great. Are you convinced, like I am, that they've got somebody in that building somewhere, and not like the head coach or anything, somebody in that building that they trust, that they have gotten fantastic player evaluations on, because they've gotten so many players. Listen, I'd be worried if it was New Mexico State, okay? But it's Ohio State. It's one of the best programs in the country. They got somebody in that building that they trust.
I'd imagine so. It's either that or they just love watching Ohio State games. And I'd imagine it's the former. They have to have a good connection there. And I remember, back then it used to be Urban Meyer and Sean Payton were very close, and they'd be able to communicate. And that would make sense when they drafted guys like Michael Thomas and Von Bell. So I wonder if maybe that lingered and stuck with them. That would be the smart play if you're the Saints. And obviously you go to that well, and sometimes people think you go to that well one too many times. That hasn't been the case for this connection. It's worked really well. And you look around the league, there's similar situations. Like there are moments where a team like the 49ers always go with Pac-12 guys. That makes sense. They're on the West Coast. They have the connection. So I'd imagine the Saints would be wise to not kind of reveal who that person is, but that that connection's been working out pretty well for this franchise.
It's got to be somebody like a strength coach or a trainer or just somebody in the building that knows football, that knows these kids and has been, because they haven't really missed on any of them. You know, somebody can give them background. Yeah, this guy's a good player on film, but he's a really good person too. It just seems like they've hit on all of them. So I don't know who that is. I'm not trying to out anybody. I'm just saying, hey, it's working. The Ohio State connection is one of the things to be positive about. Chris, we appreciate your time as always. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Chris Rosvoglu from Boot Crew Media. Saints and the Vikings, 8:30 on Sunday morning. We'll take a break. Take your questions in the YouTube chat. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This week on dropbiscuit.com or wherever you listen to podcasts is our new series, Pops, the Louis Armstrong story. Pops is brought to you by New Orleans & Company. Check out neworleans.com and come visit New Orleans.
This isn't just another day. It's so much more. Kelly's life was put on hold when her auctioneer primary care doctor discovered a rare blood disorder. Her doctor connected her to an auctioneer care team of cancer, heart, and kidney specialists. With multiple primary care locations around Baton Rouge, same-day appointments, and online scheduling, we're relentless about keeping you healthy. Auctioneer Baton Rouge, innovating healthcare for Kelly.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Oh, hey, what's up? It's Big D and Bubba, 100.7 The Tiger Morning Show. We'd love for you to join us every weekday, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m.
Yeah, everything you want in a show. Country music. We got laughs. We got celebrity in-studio guests. We just need you.
Join us every weekday morning, 4 a.m. to 9 a.m., right where it all started.
That's right. Louisiana's country station, 100.7 The Tiger.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you're born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
On Fridays off the bench, it's Football Friday. Let's get you set for the viewing weekend. Best matchups, best bets. D-Generation Dome Season 3. Figure out the answer. 7 to 10 a.m. 104.5 ESPN.
.104.5 ESPN and Acura Baton Rouge ask for your support in helping us raise money for Folds of Honor, a nonprofit organization which provides families of fallen or disabled service members educational scholarships. To donate to this cause, visit our website at 1045espn.com. And this week, everyone who makes a donation will be entered to win tickets to see Greta Van Fleet at the Smoothie King Center on November 1st. Donate now at 1045espn.com from Acura Baton Rouge and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This Saturday, Bike Bash from the MS Society at Radio Bar on Government Street, starting at 3 o'clock, going all the way through the Auburn game. There is a donation, $25 donation at the door to get your free raffle tickets. They're giving away some signed memorabilia from Tyrann Mathieu, from Josh Smith. There's some Marucci items there as well. Free pasta lion keg beer while supplies last. And, of course, the MS Society fighting MS, man. We continue to fight the fight. You want to make a donation, mssociety.donordrive.com. But come out on Saturday. It's going to be a real good time. We're going to be there in between our pregame show and the kickoff of the game. So it's a Radio Bar this Saturday. For Bike Bash, they usually do a bike ride, but we're doing a football party instead this weekend at Radio Bar in the MS Society. All right. First of all, Mario, the drag on the ticket here found a player from Ohio State that the Saints drafted that did not play well. Go ahead.
Antonio Pittman.
All right. I had forgotten about him.
Fourth round pick in 06.
They cut him.
Mm-hmm.
They cut him. Pierre Thomas made the team as an undrafted free agent and, of course, went on to a great career with the Saints, and they cut Pittman. I remember that because we went through this whole thing about, well, they're going to keep the draft choice no matter unless it's really, really drastic. And you know what? It was really, really drastic. Okay, so the chat has gone crazy over. Have you been watching the chat, Mario?
Vaguely. No.
Okay.
What are they talking about?
big topic today is potato salad. Okay,
all right.
Pro or con? Okay. No, for the record, yes, I like potato salad. No, I don't like pickles in my potato salad. We've got a rule at the house. This is more my wife's rule. She won't eat potato salad unless she cooks it. Now, I'm not nearly as, discerning about it. I'm pretty wide variety of potato salad, but no pickles. So, yes, I like potato salad. You get potato salad with barbecue. You mix a little baked beans in with your potato salad. I like that. I'm going to have 18 people tell me how disgusting that is, but yes, I like potato salad.
Potato salad's great, yes.
Hanny, hot or cold potato salad?
Ooh, okay, so cold, but if you put it in gumbo, I'm not going to tell you not to.
I like cold as well.
Yeah, I mean, but I'll eat it. I'll eat it either way. Ask Hanny, you still with me on hating beach sand? Absolutely. Ask Hanny, do you think Amazon will ever get into streaming college football? Yes. Streaming. What you're seeing on Thursday Night Football is just the beginning. Yes, absolutely.
They got to put an NFL guy that normally doesn't do college games to atone for Herbie.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Ask Candy, do you feel like the Tiger Eye is becoming dated? Should they put a Mike Head or Sailor Mike on the 50? I don't hate the Tiger Eye. I don't have a strong opinion on it one way or the other. I do miss the old block LSU in the end zones. That's what I grew up with, and I always liked that. In the 90s when they took it out and just went with that, the green end zones and it was kind of a boring LSU. I liked the block LSU, so I'm more of an opinion on the end zones than the 50-yard line. Ask Hanny, since the Saints lost points in the spread with the news of Winston sitting out, they should have started Andy Dalton sooner. Look, it's easy to go back now and say that Dalton probably would have been a better option against Carolina. I mean, I think Jameis Winston is hurt. So, yes, Andy Dalton would have been a better option. What where was a question that I had about should the Saints think about tanking for C.J. Stroud? See, here's the problem. They don't have a first-round pick. So there's no tanking for – that was the real problem with that trade. The value of the picks might have evened out. The problem was if Winston didn't work out and you're going to move on from him, it's move on to what? Because you don't have a first-round pick. You got a quarterback-heavy draft next year. You might have as many as 5 quarterbacks go in the first round, and you don't have a first-round pick. Somebody suggested that maybe Will Levis from Kentucky would slide to the second round. Not only is he not sliding to the second round, he might not slide to the second pick. He may very well be the number 1 pick in the draft. There's a big piece that Kuiper did. He's number 2 on his big board. He's behind Stroud right now, but he's ahead of Bryce Young on at least Kuiper's draft board. So, no. And also he said about K.J. Jefferson. I don't see K.J. Jefferson as a first-round pick at all. So, but also I'm not sure of him as a prospect, as an NFL prospect. I'm not positive. Not positive he's going to be a starting NFL quarterback. Ask Hanny, favorite tune since clothing. No, I was happy that the cartoon character went away. Was not a fan there. Hunt Hill is up next. Tomorrow's Football Friday. We'll be out at Ruffino's. For Mario and Taylor, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Hanny time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.